Hi, my name's Zara Jump. Welcome to the vlog. I'm an animator who's worked in games. So getting started, I usually start my day off by making my bed with all my cute little plushies, and then I get some coffee using my mocha pot typically because I can't go out and buy coffee every day while being unemployed. But I do make some coffee runs typically to go draw. But yeah, so here I'm just like shading some thumbnails for clarity because I was going to show those to somebody for feedback way back when. And these are for my story Chispa, which you can actually see on my portfolio site now. It's about this girl, Lucia, who goes on a little journey to trust herself, and along the way she meets this cute little baby mammoth, we call him Bebe. And he helps her out. It's a little idea I've had for a long time. I had it since like college, but it was like a pitch that didn't really go through. So back at home, you can see that I'm just sitting down and getting to work after I've gotten all these thumbnails down. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all the thumbnails and I'm like cropping them into Storyboard Pro. This is a very tedious process that I haven't really figured out a great workflow for yet, but like I don't know what else to do because I like to thumbnail really small. So this is just my process for it, especially since I'm using Procreate. There's definitely a faster way to do this if you're using Photoshop, but that's not what I had here. So I'm just slowly putting everything into Storyboard Pro, and this is a very important part of the process because it allows me to play the thumbnails out as if they're a movie now in a way. It's like the first pass of editing almost. So I can just see what will need to be filled in. In the midst of making this story, I was like going outside and going to the aquarium and stuff and just touching grass. It was just important to me to get out and just experience life in the midst of making a silly little story. You can see here that I've made quite a bit of progress since the last thing I showed you, from thumbnails to this. This is just like I've done a ton of drawing of like laying things out, and everything is laid out and drawn. Like the thumbnails are pretty much gone. So I'm doing breakdowns at this point. I'm refining drawings. I'm making things look pretty, just, you know, the whole works. With this project specifically, I honestly really leveled up my breakdowns process because I had done it a few times by this point in the way that like Storyboard Pro allows you to. I have had a lot of experience doing storyboards in Photoshop and a little bit in Clip Studio Paint, and they both worked fine, but I really enjoy just how set up Storyboard Pro is for storyboarding. I think storyboarding has been a really good way to exercise my mind. I feel like, you know, I've worked as a 3D animator in my professional career for the most part. I did have some freelance recently though. That was pretty cool, and I can say I've professionally storyboarded now, which I can't say why because NDA, but just know I do have some professional like work that I've done now, which is pretty sick. But while recording this video, I did not. I had only ever done it for either school or like pleasure. And even though it's like in a 2D format, drawing just like really helps me. It's like how I think. And whenever I would plan out like my game animations for work when I was employed, it was, you know, I would start 2D and I would do thumbnails. And I don't know if other animators or storyboard artists understand this predicament I might have had, but I would have ideas and I would have thumbnails. And I've always had an issue of getting a character from point A to C. The B, the in-between, is like the hard part that you have to like really learn how to effectively do. And this can be on like small scale or large scale like storyboarding. But because storyboarding requires breakdowns and I wanted this project to be a little more like high fidelity with the amount of breakdowns I was doing. It really forced me to think about like, how is this character moving from place to place? How are they motivated to do this? Like, are they thinking in this moment, or is it because they're forced to do something, like an outside force forcing them to like run, or are they running of their own accord because they're scared? That type of thing. And that really has made animating a lot easier in a way, because even though I'm already a decent animator, thinking about that point between A and C, B, and how the character is doing the thing, and what the options are and why are they motivated to do this, has been super cool. And I feel like you can find ways to exercise this part of your brain as an artist anywhere. But this specifically helped me a lot because drawing is just kind of like how I think. But after major thumbnailing and like sketching things out within Storyboard Pro itself, I figured something out, and I will do a pitch video soon where you can see the fruits of my labor, or you can click through it yourself through my portfolio website. I'll plug here as well. So you can see that cleaning things up takes like a good amount of time. I'm just making sure everything's reading well. For Chispa, I decided to color in her hair and her shirt black, and I honestly think that was a mistake in terms of readability and also just for time efficiency. That was kind of dumb. It's aesthetically pleasing, and I think I did this because in one of my previous storyboards, Fossil Fuels, I colored in things black, which was also kind of a mistake, but I did not learn from my lesson then. But I learned from it now. I don't think I'll do something like this again. It looks nice in still images, but sometimes it makes it hard to keep things on model or make things like readable in terms of form. It makes things look super flat in 2D, which is not bad. I really like that look, and this was boarded as like a TV style project. So something that you might see from like Disney TVA or DreamWorks TV or something like that. That was the intention here. Just like TV like has really impacted me the most. I feel like Steven Universe is a really good example of that, where things are the shapes are just so amazing. Like the characters being like, they're designed so well. Like Garnet is very squared off, like rounded squares, rounded rectangles. Steven is like hearts because he cares so much. Amethyst is circles because she's spunky and like off the wall. And Pearl is like triangles because she's very precise and just like a little more like pointed. So I really love that type of stuff. So that's where a lot of the influence comes from. And since drawing is how I think, I might as well talk about my experience leading up to Chispa. I went to Ringling College of Art and Design, and I completed a thesis film towards the end of my education there. But before that, we had a lot of storyboard classes to practice storytelling and just like writing and like learning how to pace things out for a CG film, what you can and can't do, what your constraints are as like one person, stuff like that. I learned a lot. Like there's so much valuable information I was taught that like I appreciate learning. But I do feel like there are a few constraints that I've either just like mentally carried over, or they were really ingrained into me, either purposefully or just like subliminally. And it just felt like certain types of storytelling just weren't super welcome in that environment, whether it was because of the constraints we had or because of, certain circumstances. It's nice to be able to do this on my own time, because I've learned that I do my best learning on my own, typically. I think at the time, just like that people pleaser energy was very strong, just due to some unforeseen circumstances in my life that like nobody at the school had control of, and I didn't have control of. So it was nobody's fault in that vicinity. But it's hard to not try to please people that you respect and change the things you're doing in order to please people. So working on Chispa was all about trusting myself and learning how to just like follow my creative instincts again, which I felt like a mammoth and like cave paintings like was a really great way to exemplify that. And Lucia's little hair thingy is like her instinct acting up and stuff. Whether it's because she needs to avoid a bat flying into her face or because she needs to trust her gut. It's just like that primal instinct is a super interesting concept to me, and I think we should all trust our own instincts more. I haven't really found that there was a time I regretted trusting my instinct on something. It's kind of funny watching this back and seeing how many times I redrew Lucia's eyebrow. It's kind of ridiculous. It's honestly good for me to watch this kind of thing because I know where I need to stop being such a perfectionist. And with that, here's me cooking some sancocho, some soup, chicken soup specifically. I'm Panamanian on my mom's side, so there's a lot of influence here from that, obviously. Every Latin country has their own sancocho, but this is what my mom typically did. I had some alterations here just because of what I had. I used chicken breasts, and I think I am never going to do that again because typically I use chicken thighs or chicken legs because that's what my mom used, but because of the lack of fat from the chicken breast here, it did not taste as good as usual, but at least it looks pretty. So, I actually boarded the beginning of Chispa using Blender, and I started off using Blender. And I was going to leave it like that with the 3D background, but I eventually changed it to this, where it was a draw over of what I did. And this was a really good exercise to learn how to use grease pencil properly. I'll plug this tutorial from this awesome storyboard artist here that I used for this. But I don't think that if you have a low action scene, it's really like ideal to use. It was a really good place for me to use it because the perspective situation was kind of like unique and weird, and I needed the camera to traverse like underground, and it was a good way to keep track of that spacing. But I don't think I'll do anything like this for a low stakes scene. It's definitely something I would reserve for like complicated camera moves or like high action. And I want to try something cool and high action eventually. I have a few ideas brewing, but I'm the type of person where I can't really talk about them or they probably won't happen. So I'm just going through and like lining everything, shading everything. It was kind of a learning process for me at this point because I hadn't done this before in Blender. I have done like some 3D work in Blender, but I hadn't done like 2D stuff so much. And honestly, Blender is like really awesome for this. I think Maya needs something like this. Like, I have used Maya professionally for quite a few years and like as a student, so like adding that up, that's probably about 6 years. But it's there's some lacking in like the 2D capabilities that could be there. I know there's a few plugins or like additions that you can get. Like I think Blue Pencil is one of them. I haven't used it since like school, but that was a cool draw over addition. But it was not near the fidelity of Grease Pencil. So, and I know some 2D animators animate in Blender. Like that's their program of choice, which is super awesome and sick. But here I'm just kind of learning the basics and like what I can use it for in like my own storyboard project. Definitely will be using again. Super cool. You can see I'm flipping through things pretty, I'm going all over the place here because I'm just doing quick passes on certain things that I feel like I need to fix. So it's like notes that need to be fixed real quick, or things that need to be done for clarity, because I like to do things in like big sweeping passes. So you can just see that I'm checking like the flow of things and how things are looking so far every once in a while. I think for scenes with a decent amount of action, it's especially important to check how things are flowing, check that eye trace, check if things are pretty clear. So I kind of have a problem where I don't like to draw on big Wacoms or big like screen tablets. I started off on like a bamboo tablet when I was younger, so a non-screen tablet. And I didn't use a screen tablet until I went to college, actually. And I just did not. I liked it when it was smaller, but I did not like the big ones that much. It just felt very cumbersome, and like, I know drawing from your shoulder is good, but it was just so laborious, and I'm kind of lazy in that regard. So I draw from my wrist, and that might be a problem in the future, but it's what I do. So yeah, making Chispa was a pretty rewarding process, and I can't wait to share the pitch video with you guys eventually. I'll have to record that soon. But yeah, thanks so much for sticking around and watching this video. If you want to check it out, please go click through it on my storyboard website. I use Pitch Speaker Deck to post everything, which is industry standard. So I just wanted to close out this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe and like if you can, and go follow my social media, Instagram, TikTok if it's still around. I post comics and pitch videos there. And also go check out my website. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.